Yesterday's vlog had us exploring this idea of the dungeon as a narrative. The fact that a dungeon has its own story that evolves, and the adventurers are but a part of that story. Also asking the consideration, when the players leave the dungeon or complete the adventure, the life of that dungeon continues on and will continue to evolve, perhaps to be visited by another party at some time in the future. So building on that, I wanted to explore as a dungeon master, always looking for opportunity, always looking for a chance to build that narrative and to really get the players to think in creative ways. And on the opposite side of that, as a player, always looking for opportunity. I'm not just talking about the rogue or the thief in the party, always looking for opportunity, resources, and dungeons as a way to gain those resources. We're going to explore this idea of treasure from both perspectives. Treasure in the dungeon. Because yes, you're looking to solve a quest. You're looking to protect the realms. You're looking to get some experience points and level up. But it's also about the loot. And one of the things about D&D, not only with the power level, but also character development, loot and magic items are fun. They're part of leveling up. So from that perspective, stocking a dungeon, encountering a dungeon, and what to look out for. Now, the easiest, of course, as a dungeon master and the most common, and it makes sense, the portability of wealth is going to be coins, gold pieces. At this point in D&D, for the most part, but I can't say everywhere, the primary exchange of currency is gold. So you're going to find gold in a dungeon either as part of a treasure hoard or the various monsters in there utilizing it, or even adventurers that have gone in there but were not able to make it out to have some gold on them. If we explore gold and coins from the perspective of advanced Dungeons and Dragons, most of the money a party is going to find is going to be copper and silver pieces. And then, of course, gold, platinum, and electrum. But we're going to lump all that into just coins. So you're always on the lookout for gold. You beat the monsters in the first question out of the players, search the monsters, how much gold, right? And that works out from a role-playing perspective and a sharing the narrative with the players, the easiest part of the Dungeon Master. 100 gold pieces, 4 players, divide it by 4, there you go. Now, the second aspect, and this is a little bit more exciting or interesting, magic items. You're going to find both known and unknown magic items in a dungeon. Known items are like, the leader of the evil marauders has a magic sword. That evil cleric has a magic mace, or you find a suit of armor. There's going to be magic items that are utilized in the narrative and by the monsters or the encounters in the dungeon. And then, of course, there's going to be magic items, again, maybe adventurers that met their end or part of a treasure pile. That breaks into 2 categories. And the first category, magic items that the players can directly use. You find a +2 longsword, the fighter has a +1 longsword. There you go, upgrade to +2, right? Various wands and rods might go to the mage. Other items might go to the rogue or the cleric. Items that you can use immediately, constantly leveling up your gear. Then there's going to be magic items like potions and consumables that you can utilize directly, indirectly, but you use them and they're gone. And then the third type of magic items are ones that, for whatever reason, you don't really have a use for. You find a magic crossbow. No one in the party really uses a crossbow. So let's take that and let's sell it, level 20 shopkeeper, and take that gold and divide it among the party. So the players are always on the lookout for magic items. Now, as a dungeon master, these are sprinkled about your dungeon. Some are obvious. There's a hoard of treasure coins in the corner, and there's a glowing sword thrust into it. Other types of magic items might be hidden, right? An old alchemist lab, and dusty and broken and ruined and forgotten. Broken bottles, lots of stuff you search through, maybe make a search check or a perception check, or you kind of look and there's 1 or 2 potions that still look good, still look usable. And some magic items, detect magic items, or lore, if you're playing with lore, to be able to utilize those checks or various skills checks to discover them. But we've got magic items. Now, the third type of loot, and this is where we get creative. This is where things get interesting. Wealth that is represented in portability or wealth that is represented in other forms. A perfect example, gems and jewelry, but really primarily gems. This idea of the portability of wealth going from copper pieces to silver to gold pieces and higher from gold pieces into gems. You can have a gem that fits in the palm of your hand, a small gem worth 1,000 gold pieces. Think about the portability of 1,000 gold pieces. That's going to fit in a sack or a backpack. If I have 10 or 15 of these gems at 1,000 each. So this idea in a dungeon economy or an adventurer economy, gems as portable wealth. Likewise, jewelry, portable wealth, but also showing off that status and wealth. So the players are going to find those in the dungeon. And for the most part, they'll be sold or bartered and maybe, again, reduced down to gold pieces and divided among the party. But what about stuff like fine wine or various paintings and furnishings? There was one adventure, and I didn't even really think of it. In the moment, I had to kind of really go with it, right? But as a dungeon master, that's some of the best experiences that you can have. I was describing this old banquet hall, and I went into great detail because I wanted to kind of impress this idea that the players had walked into this castle, an abandoned castle, and the form and function of the castle, where it's like everything's in disrepair, but the dining hall is still, it's not used. It's definitely not used, but something is going on there, right? And I described this very ornate, carved and layered wooden table, huge, long banquet table. The players were like, how much is it worth? And I'm like, how much is it worth? I don't know. Knowledge something, make a something check DC 15. And I'm thinking like, okay, so, maybe it was worth like 1,000 gold pieces. It really was an incredible amount, even with the gold inflation of D&D 5. They're like, okay, we're getting this table out one way or another because look, it fits through the door. Fritz, we've got the dimensions. We take it out through the door. We make a right. We go down the entry point to the castle and we're good. So we're taking this with us. That represents treasure. This idea of things that you can take and sell. At the early levels in D&D, you're trying to get some gold. You're trying to get just a little bit of coin to buy some stuff, to buy some gear beyond just your starting. Or maybe you're saving up for that first signature magic item. So you're defeating bandits and you're taking like chain vests, you're taking, long swords, you're selling things for like 1 or 2 gold pieces. Does that ever really work? But we've all been there. We've all done that. There are ways to get gold and money besides just that. So when I'm stocking a dungeon, again, going back to this idea of a narrative, going back to this idea of a living type of system, what are the representations of wealth and how are they distributed throughout the dungeon? And as a player, I'm always on the lookout for coin. Absolutely. I'm always on the lookout for magic items. Absolutely. But what other things in a dungeon might have value? And more importantly, how do we get them out of the dungeon?